Hello, JAG families. We're so glad you're here. The energy at Centennial High School has been intensifying over the past few weeks, and we are really looking forward to having our students return next Thursday, August 27th. Tonight, we're going to give you just some need-to-know information as we gear up for day one. And before we go any further, I want to introduce this amazing team of leaders that I get to work with every day. We have Mr. Adam Bush, Associate Principal, Mr. J.D. Hunter, Associate Principal, Mr. Will Dotson, Dean of Students, and Mr. Austin Roy, Dean of Students. So our purpose for this evening is to introduce our administrative team, which you just got to meet them a moment ago. We want to provide clarity on how we're operationalizing our return to learn plan at Centennial High School. We also want to try to reduce any anxiety that you might have, any unknowns that you might be experiencing as you think about returning to school next week. And we hope to equip you with all that information before the first day. And also important, we want to be able to provide you a process for asking questions that you may still have after this presentation. So I just introduced our admin team, and I will tell you that in light of this crazy time that we have been experiencing in 2020, I cannot think of a better team of people to prepare for school to resume again next week. They have truly taken to heart the best interests of our staff and our students, and are doing everything that they can to help everybody stay safe and have a positive, rigorous learning experience this year. We are about putting students first, and wanted to take a moment and share with you the teams. And the way I look at this is that I see these teams having what I'll call shared custody of our students. So if you look at our students with the last name A through K, and then our students with the last names that begin with L through Z, each of those groups has an assistant principal, a dean of students, and then 2 counselors, and they really work together as a team to help every student be successful in our building. And in addition to them, they will seek out those other specialists in our building, whether it's our social worker or teachers of these students or our school nurse, whoever we need to bring to the table to make sure that your students are getting what they need, unique to their own experiences here at Centennial. So when we think about in a typical year, there is a back to school night or a meet the teacher event. And as you know, you've been receiving various emails from us over the last couple of weeks. And instead of being an event, it really is more like a journey. And so here's really the timeline of events that have been taking place that we are hoping are transitioning you as seamlessly as possible back to school and gradually introducing you to your students' teachers. So we began in early August sending you informational emails, and with each email letting you know, here's the next time you're going to hear from us. And we had a successful optional building orientation on August 18th. And I would say hats off to all of you for the support that you have put into place in the new way we do business. We are wearing masks, and when I say we, I mean all of us in the building are wearing masks. We are being sensitive to social distancing guidelines. There has been a lot of work behind the scenes to get us ready for this. And when we hosted our orientation, our students rose to the occasion, not surprisingly. But it was really cool to have them back in the building, and they were all wearing masks and honoring the way we do business now. This meeting, of course, is being recorded, and we will share that in an email to you as well as post that on our Centennial website. Before Wednesday the 26th at noon, you will hear from your students' teachers, an introductory email, and sharing initial information about your students' courses. And then finally, by September 4th, our teachers are going to be creating an introductory video just to tell you a little bit about themselves, and they will post that on their teacher web pages in addition to any other important course information that they want you to have access to at any time. So we have a theme this year at Centennial High School, and it is "We've Got This." And I would say collectively, every adult that I've had the privilege of interacting with or working with that is connected to Centennial in any way has brought this mindset of resilience and just knowing, you know what, this has been a hard year since March, and we are still in the midst of this pandemic. And that's not going to stop us. It does not change who we are. We are not defined by the pandemic. And with that, that doesn't change our mission. Our mission in Ankeny schools is that we are unified in our commitment, our passion, and our vision. So every learner is prepared for a lifetime of success. And nobody is excused from that. We all believe that we have an important role, and you are included in that. And together we're going to help every student, and we're not going to sacrifice that education just because we're in the midst of a pandemic. And with that comes this mindset, right? So when we think about that mindset of "we've got this," we really are in that effective paradigm of change starts with me. So when we're in the midst of things that we can't control, we could choose to blame everything and everyone around us. And instead, at Centennial, we are locking arms and we are saying change starts with me, change starts with us. We all have an important part in taking steps forward. Those of you who have students in buildings that have Leader in Me, grounded in Franklin Covey's Habits of Effective People, this is one of those paradigms that we teach our students in Ankeny schools. It is about changing, making that positive change that starts with me and how that can impact the world around me. So we've got this, right? And as a Jaguar, I think this whole theme of "we've got this" aligns perfectly with our Jaguar Creed. This is who we are. When Centennial was opened years back, this creed was created. It is our set of beliefs in who we are as Centennial Jaguars. And just because a pandemic is going on, this doesn't matter. This means we care for others first. And one of those ways is that we wear masks. We respect everyone around us, knowing that everybody's at a different place in their comfort level with this pandemic. And that is okay. Wherever you are, that's okay. We're here with you to support you in those next steps. Another important point of information I wanted to make sure to share with you, that as we care for others and we want to make sure that everybody has what they need to be successful, we have a very good partnership in Ankeny schools with Employee and Family Resources, which includes the Student Assistance Program, or SAP. And we have increased the services that we have under contract with the Student Assistance Program. So now we want you to know that your student has up to 6 free sessions per topic per year to see a counselor through the Student Assistance Program. So here's what I mean by 6 free per topic per year. For example, we might have a student who has someone close to them who passes away. That would be, that could certainly have up to 6 free counseling sessions. And then maybe a month later, that student's parents go through a divorce. That would be another up to 6 free sessions. And so we really believe in investing in our students and helping them work through those social emotional hurdles that they might have, and empowering them and equipping them so that they can be advocates for themselves, so that that doesn't get in the way of their academic success. We're also going to have an on-site counselor from the Student Assistance Program here at Centennial 1 day a week, and that person will collaborate with our counselors and our social workers, and they will maintain confidentiality. There's contact information here on the screen. Also, we've added this contact information on our Centennial website, and if you go to the counseling page, you'll find this specific contact information there. At this time, we're going to transition to some more specific information about Return to Learn and what that looks like at Centennial. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Austin Roy.
Well, thank you. As Dr. Urich talked about earlier, masks are going to be a big thing about keeping ourselves and each other safe this year. So masks are going to be required with our students and staff this year. They're going to be wearing those as they enter the building. If they either forget or don't have a mask, we will have masks on site that we can hand out to those students as they enter the building. And we want to make sure that not only are they wearing them, I'm sure you've seen all the funny pictures and the memes out there of what is right. We want to make sure that the nose is covered, that the mouth is covered at all times. Throughout the day, there are going to be exceptions, of course, with eating and drinking. And then if there's a time where students are in a space where they're 6 feet apart from people, and with that teacher approval, we will allow those breaks to be happening where they can take the mask off throughout the day. This is an extension of an article of clothing. So we're going to have all the masks fall within the guidelines of our student handbook and our dress code with no inappropriate language or symbols on there. Then at the end of each day, if it is a reusable mask, we just ask that those get cleaned before the next time they come into the building. As they head out onto the first day of school, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get into the building, we're going to start opening the building up each day at 8 o'clock. So this is going to be a little bit different. On Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, it'll open at 8, and our first class period will start at 8:25. And then on our late start days, which our late starts start at 10:55 this year, we're going to open the building up at 10:30 a.m. So we're giving them a 25-minute window to come into the building. We want them to stay in the parking lot until that time opens. And then once they do come into the building during that 25-minute window, we want them to head straight to the first period class, trying to avoid congregating with other students. And once again, we're going to have PPE and hand sanitizer available at our entries. And we're going to talk about what our entry points are going to look like here in a moment. And just something that I want to point out this year is that just trying to cut down on how many students and how many possible exposures we have in our building. We're going to have no parents or visitors with entering the building at this time with students. So depending on where our students are parking in the parking lot and where they come in, kind of dictate where they come in. So if you're an athlete or general student, we're going to suggest parking in the northeast lot next to the softball and baseball field, and come in through the entries marked here. The first is by kind of that gym area, and then the main entry as well. If you are coming in through the bike or through a bike lane, or if you're walking to school or you're getting dropped off, we'll have you come through the main loop as we normally would and come in through the main entry. If you are parking in the south lot, and we could suggest this for band students, or this will be open for any general parking as well, but you'll either come in through the main entry or the other door, which is E8. You can see the arrow there. We have an exciting construction project going on to expand our school, so that's cutting down on the main entry or E8. If you are coming in along the bus, we're going to have that bus loop will be open. And then we also have some parking on the west side of the building. And on that west side of the building, if you're parking in there, we're going to have you through the W15 door. So in the next slide, there's kind of a breakdown of where everything is going to be open for students. So once again, the northeast lot, 43 in the main entrance, drop-offs, and bike riders will come through the main entrance breakdown. And once again, we're trying to We want to make sure that we maintain physical safety of the building, so all the entries will be supervised, but also want to maintain safety in terms of COVID with making sure that it is stocked with that PPE and hand sanitizer. There are a lot of what ifs in terms of when students are coming. So there are going to be some exceptions and special considerations. And these are some of those. We'll talk about some of these right now. And we'll get into some more details with the students coming on the first day of school. But the first consideration we want to take a look at is those early bird classes. If you have a student coming in for an early bird, we're going to have them come and be ready to come in at that 7:05. Go ahead and go to the next slide. We'll have some information on that. So if they can go ahead and park in that northeast lot, and they're going to wait in their cars until that 7:05 time. At 5, that early bird teacher will come in and open an E40 door, which is in between our two gyms. And then at that time, they can come inside, go to early bird, and then once that is finished, they will head off to their first period class. Just kind of a picture visual of what that E40 is referring to. We'll head to the next slide and show you a picture of what door I'm talking about. So once again, kind of in that northeast lot next to the softball baseball field. And then there's a set of double doors in between the two gyms that the students will come in and hop right into the gym and get going for early bird. We are going to continue to be offering that breakfast will begin at 8 a.m. when students are allowed to come into the building. We're going to make sure that our commons area is social distanced. Masks are going to be off because students will be eating, so we want to make sure that they're spaced out. Students are allowed to bring outside food and have breakfast in that commons area. As soon as we're going to have them put that mask on and head on to first period class and hang out there until the start of the day. We're going to try to limit food into the commons area because, once again, we want masks on in the building, and if we're eating, it's hard to do that with a mask on. So we're going to try and limit where are off and where the students can eat. And then we'll have a little bit more details of what that looks like. If we have students coming after school for an extracurricular event or practice or activity, and they are not already at school because we're on this, we're going to want them to come in and park prior to the end of the day at 3:40 dismissal. So we're trying to cut down on how many ins and how many outs are going on at the same time with traffic. So try to get them into the parking lot before 3:40, and they're going to enter through the doors closest to the activities area as soon as that happens at 3:40, and then report either to the locker room or the area that they're meeting. Visual of, once again, where you're going to be parking and then what doors you're going to be entering onto the building. We do want to put students first, and part of that is making sure that they have access to the teachers and making sure that they can get the extra review and the extra help they need. So that is looking for that extra help. That needs to occur between that 8 to 8:25 window that we have to come in. We just ask that they reach out to their teachers by appointment to make sure that they will be there and ready for them. Our teachers are going to be also planning some outside of those times reviews and learning, and we just ask that that happens virtually and by teacher appointment, so there's conversation and make sure that everyone's on the same page with that. When we exit the building, we're going to be where no matter where you are in the building, you're just going to find the nearest exit and head on out the door. We're going to try to limit how much congregation once again is going on inside of our building. If students are waiting to get picked up, we will have an area near the entry like we have in years past. If they need to go to the bus, they'll head to the bus. If they need to head to an extracurricular, they will do that. This applies to whether you're leaving in the day for open campus or end of the day exiting as well. And just a couple of considerations once again, because there seems to be exceptions to every rule. If we have a student that's leaving during the day for an excused absence or an appointment, rather than just leaving the nearest exit, we do want them to check out through the main office and make sure that we're keeping track of who's coming in, who's coming out. Once again, if you have a student that rides the bus, they will head through the building and get to the bus exit. and then participating after school activities. They'll head through the hallways and get to where they need to be. But we're just trying to get the students out, make sure they're not crossing too many paths at the end of the day. We will continue to have open campus for 11th and 12th graders. When they exit the building, they can head out the nearest door. But when they come back into the building, they're going to go through the main entrance just like they have in years past. As they wait to come through, just make sure they are coming in and being socially distanced. And if they come in late, we will have a check-in process for them at that point as well. And at that time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hunter with some more information.
Thanks, Austin. I'm just going to explain kind of what the hallways will look like both during class and during passing. So in the hallways, really at all times, because social distancing really, it can't be really considered when are guaranteed when we're walking in the halls. So students are going to be wearing masks at that time. We're really going to ask students not to congregate in those groups and just head into class really the fastest way possible. We do have some markings in the building. Generally, this is kind of the average traffic flow we would have in the building, but it just keeps students to one side of the hall. And so students will be following those markings. We'll also have the social distance markings in front of areas such as restrooms, hydration stations, and we will have those in certain classrooms that are busier than usual. For restrooms during passing, we do have a capacity on restrooms. As the students that are returning know, our hallway restrooms are fairly small. In those hallway restrooms, we are going to have a capacity of 2 students in. We do have social distance markings along the restroom line for students to wait for students to finish using the restroom before they go in. Obviously, students are going to adhere to that restroom capacity as best they can, wash their hands, and then report to class. When students are entering the classroom, they are going to follow a specific procedure, and really this goes for any classroom that they are entering. Doesn't matter if it's one of their core classes or electives or band or choir, whatever it may be. Upon walking into classroom, students are going to grab a sanitized wipe, which will be provided to all of our teachers. And before sitting, they're going to wipe down their desk area and chair and throw that wipe away in an appropriate manner. Once they're done with that, they'll engage in the bell ringer or however the teacher starts their class. During class, we do need to follow procedure to kind of track the students in the halls. Students are, of course, going to ask the teacher for permission to use the restroom. We are asking teachers to limit this to 1 student at a time. Of course, emergencies are always the exception to this. Students are going to fill out a QR code, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a little bit, on their phones. If students don't have their phones, then they will get a pass from the teacher. I know sometimes phones are dead, misplaced, whatever that may be. They are asked to use the nearest restroom, obviously still maintaining those markings for social distancing and adhering to the restroom capacity. So this is the QR codes that I was talking about. Each teacher is going to be provided both of these codes. So what students will do when they leave is they will pull up their camera on the phone and essentially scan that image that you see there. That image is going to take them to a Google form that they will fill out just with the date and time and their destination. And then when they come back in the classroom, they will pull up their cameras and scan the image that you see on your right-hand side. And that will just ask them essentially the time they came back in and where they were at. For the counseling office and nurse, these are obviously very important areas that we want students to be able to access. But I think during this time, we have to be very considerate of the capacity in these areas. So once again, students will ask the teacher to use one of these areas. The teacher is going to call down either to the nurse or the counselor to see if they are available, if they don't have a previously scheduled appointment. This is just to make sure we're limiting the amount of students in one place. And then once again, we're asking teachers that 1 student leave the room at a time. And as students are in the halls, they would follow those hallway expectations by wearing masks. The last thing here is just hydration stations. All the drinking fountains will be closed in the building. The water has been shut off on them, but we do have essentially water bottle refill stations, and they're called our hydration stations. So students are allowed to bring water bottles to fill up at these stations, and they're located in more locations than we had at the end of last year. So we have inserted some more for students to use. Of course, the students will maintain social distancing and adhere to those markings as they're waiting in line to fill their water. The last thing here is just lockers and backpacks. We have usually always allowed backpacks at Centennial, but we're encouraging that even more so this year, really to just encourage social distancing in general. We are going to limit the locker use to really just parents, families, and students that ask for these for specific reasons. Therefore, backpacks will be worn in the halls, and they will have all the students' belongings in them. Also, PE lockers will not be used. PE teachers will be going through kind of some recommendations for students on some clothing and what to wear based on the activity that they plan to do for that coming day. Band lockers will also not be used. I know our band director, Mr. Cook, has students following a specific process where they will house these instruments for the day at specific locations, and there will be doors that are locked so the instruments don't have a tendency to get stolen or misplaced. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Dotson.
To maintain those social distancing. Juniors and seniors are still going to have open campus just like what we always have. Our meals are going to look a little bit different. They're going to be in grab-and-go meals. Meals will be packaged in these shell containers. They're very accessible. They're easy to throw away. Students choose from the entree. All sides are going to be the same. Our a la carte items won't be as extensive as what they have in the past, but your understanding is appreciated with that. We will have 2 lines going in, and then we'll kind of have a procedure as they come out. There'll be floor markings that'll really direct the kids, and we'll have a lot of presence of adults to help them kind of understand the task as we do that, entering and exiting the cafeteria. The lunchroom will be set up a little bit different than what it has in the past. There'll be desks, tables, and booths that all face the same direction that allow for socially distanced areas. We're going to really encourage our outdoor seating whenever possible. That will really help us just with our overflow of students. Students will be allowed to get up and throw stuff away as they're finished. Expected to remain socially distanced until the bell rings. And then if students are exiting for open campus lunch, they'll all be asked to come through that main entrance, and the doors will be propped open. There'll also be staff just to encourage or ensure safety as well. Our same tardy policy procedure will be used with those QR codes as well, kind of like what Mr. Hunter had mentioned as well.
We've had a lot of questions, of course, about, what will we do if, or what will we do when, or a lot of those things as we've gone through a lot of these items here today. We have in every building what is called a health response team. The health response team's primary job is to make sure that we're doing everything we can to mitigate any potential exposure and try to make sure that we're responding correctly if and when anything does happen. The response team is made up of some administrators, our nurse, our custodial staff, some counseling as well, so that we are able to respond in the case of something that does happen within our building. Just so people know that we are partnered with our district in this. This is not something that just our building is responsible for. We're partnered with our district. We're partnered with Polk County Health, so that we are getting the right information and be able to make sure that we're making the best decisions possible for individuals and for our staff and students in regards to safety. But there will be some communication that will be needed that will come from our district sources if something does come up that we need to address. But otherwise, our health response team will continue to monitor our procedures, monitor our processes, and just make sure that we're doing the best things possible. And I believe with that, I turn it back over to Dr. Urich.
All right, so this is our opportunity to just employ the process, right? If you have any questions. So in the email that we sent with this link, there is a specific form that you can fill out if you have specific questions pertaining to Return to Learn, or maybe there's another question that you might have that you'd really like to get an answer to before school starts. Please go ahead and fill that out, and we will follow up on all of those questions. And I have to take one more moment to promote these great teams that are advocating for your students. So if you have a specific question about your student, please, I encourage you to reach out to one of the adults that represents your student. And with that, I want to remind everybody of our theme. We've got this. We're going to live the Jaguar Creed, and we really want to commit to keeping our lines of communication open with all of you. At the end of the day, we're Jaguars. And with that, thank you for your time, and we look forward to partnering with you.